Hey, this is Simon from LiteRider, and welcome to another very exciting webinar. Well, to be honest, this webinar is not so exciting. It's about building your own fixtures, and it's not the best part of LiteRider, to be honest, but it's really essential that you have a good quality fixture profile in LiteRider, otherwise you can have all sorts of problems. Now, just before we start, we do actually offer a free service where we will actually create profiles for you. Basically, you can go on our website and there's a simple step-by-step process to request a profile and to add your own PDF of the user manual. I'll just show you where that is on the website. So if I go to lightrider.com, and if we go over here in the, actually it's down here, you see we've got this button here, Buy Now. This takes you directly to our LiteRider store. And then over at the top here, we've got SSL fixture profiles. That's the name of the profiles, SSL. And what you can do, you can search for a profile just here. And if you can't find a profile, it will let you make a new fixture request, which you can do by clicking this button over here. But obviously, you're sometimes in the situation where you need a profile very quickly. You don't have time to wait a week or 2 weeks, or if we're very busy, even longer, for us to create a profile for you. So I'm going to show you a tool that we've got which allows you to create profiles yourself. And it's called Profile Builder. And it's accessible through any internet browser. In fact, we've tested with Safari, Chrome and Firefox. I'm not sure about Internet Explorer. You have to give it a go, or Microsoft Edge. So basically, this can also run on tablets as well as on a PC or Mac. So you don't need a computer. You can do it directly from the iPad or Android tablet that you're using to run LiteRider as well. Some of you may be aware of an app that we've had until recently, a profile builder app. Now, basically, the app had some limitations. There were some things that you couldn't do inside the app, and it was becoming increasingly complicated for us to maintain the Android app, the iOS app. We've got a piece of software for PC and Mac as well. There was just too much to maintain. So what we decided to do was make a new web-based profile builder. The other reason for making this is that we have a new system. You may remember LightCloud. You've not been able to do much with it until now, but we've made a brand new user portal for LightCloud, and the new profile builder web app integrates with all of this. So let's get started. You might not be able to see on the screen here, but at the top, do you know what? I should have found where the zoom button was before starting this webinar. Let's okay, so I can do that. That's cool. Okay, so at the top here, I've got profilebuilder.nickelaudigroup.com, and that's the web address that you need to go to get to Profile Builder. We'll post that in the comments as well. In fact, Piers, if you could just write it in the comments now, then we can, if you want to follow along, you can just click the link. And you log into Profile Builder using your LightCloud account. And this is the same LightCloud account that you use when logging into LiteRider. So if I make this full screen, so I'm not covering up any parts of the screen. So we start by going here and clicking this big plus button called Create New Profile. So if I do this, we can select a brand, and I'm just going to select Generic. And I'm going to call this Simon's Superlight. And I'm going to click Create. So you're first presented with this screen, or you may be presented with this screen. There are two tabs on the top right here. You've got one tab which says Properties and one tab which says Content. Now, there's a lot of buttons on this screen, but you don't actually need to use any of them for LiteRider. This is just general fixture information. So you see you've got the creator here, so simon@nickelodeon.com for me. You've got the fixture type, so I'm just going to keep this as moving head. But if you had an LED par, for example, you could go trad, which stands for traditional, or you could go LED. And then you can set some other information like 3D graphics. It's really not so important for LiteRider, to be honest. You can set the size, the color temperature, but to be honest, don't worry about this screen. The only thing you might need to use later is the beam editing area in the top right, and I'll go through this later on. So what we're going to do is go right to the top corner where it says content. And this is where we actually build our fixture profile. So every fixture has channels. If you've got the user manual for your fixture, you'll usually see a table and there will be a big list of channels in the table. So I'm going to click the plus here. And this gives a list of all the different types of channels. So what I suggest, if you're creating a profile for yourself, you just create the channels that you need. Anything that's strange, like effects channels or macro channels or anything that doesn't seem to make sense, use this, which is other. And basically, if you have a channel called other, LiteRider will ignore it. It's often a good place to start with troubleshooting as well. If LiteRider's not doing what you expect it to with your fixture and you've got some unusual channels, swap them out for other channels, and it basically just tells LiteRider to ignore the channel and control it manually. So I'm going to create like a virtual fixture here, and it's going to have a red channel, green, blue, and it's going to be a moving fixture. So I'm going to put pan, tilt, and it will have a dimmer. It will have a shutter for doing strobe. And let's put a gobo wheel as well. And at the end, I'll click Add Selection at the bottom. So here we have all the channels. Now some channels have something called presets, and again you'll see that in the user manual for your lighting fixture. There's normally two columns. The first column will show the channels and the second column will show the presets. So if we click the dimmer channel, usually the dimmer channel will have a dimmer preset, and to add a preset we click this big plus over here and I will select dimmer. And when I select dimmer, you see it appears at the bottom here. I can select other presets, so some fixtures might have a dimmer pulse preset or a dimmer pulse close preset. I'm just going to remove these here. And I'm going to click save. And here's my dimmer preset. Now let's go over to the shutter channel. So shutter and strobe. And again, I'll click the plus here. Shutter channels normally start with a shutter open, but again, you need to check the user manual for this. Then it might have a shutter strobe, slow to fast. Then maybe a shutter closed. And then maybe another shutter open. So you just need to look at what it says in the user manual and copy what you see by clicking these in the correct order. And you'll see them stacked again at the bottom here. And I'll click save. Now by default, the profile builder will choose start and end values for each preset. These probably won't match what's in the manual, so you need to have a look at what's in the manual, and then you can either change by dragging this bar like this. So I could change this to value 30, or you can click here and I could change this to, for example, value 50. Then if we go to the Gobo channel, I'll click the plus and add some gobos. It's always lots of fun spending hours and hours searching through all these icons to find one that matches your gobo. But hey, you know, when it's done, and you can see all the icons in LiteRider, so it's worth spending a little bit of time to do it. So I'll put a shutter open, sorry, a Gobo open here. And then I'm just going to choose some random Gobos. We don't have every single Gobo image, but I'd recommend just finding one that looks similar to your lighting fixture. Or if you don't want to go through and put all these in, you could just use these Gobo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to click Save. Okay, so here's my Gobo wheel channel. And sometimes Gobos can rotate. So to do this, if I click this Gobo, for example, G3 beam, I can see the properties over on the right here. And you see I have rotary, shake, self-rotary, index, bounce. So these are all different effects. So on some fixtures you have self-rotary. That's where you don't have a Gobo rotation channel. So what happens is you trigger this Gobo here and it just starts rotating. There's no control channel for the Gobo. I think this is how the old Martin Mac 250 lights used to work. But nowadays you normally have another channel for Gobo wheel rotate. So let's just have a look down here. And Gobo rotation. There it is. So we'll click this and add selection. And then on here, so normally you might have Gobo rotation off, clockwise, anti-clockwise. I'll click Save. And then here, I have my Gobo rotation presets. Okay, so basically, it's just a case of following the user manual, building up your channels like this, and copying what you read inside the user manual. After that, if we go up here, you see, let me zoom into this just in case it's not clear on the video. There we go. So up here, we have channel, and then we have mode. So what you do, you build all your channels first, and then afterwards you build your modes. Now some fixtures have several modes. They might have a 5-channel mode with some limitations, and then it might have a 10-channel mode with some extra channels. Normally when you're building a fixture for yourself, you just want to use one mode. So I'm going to go over to mode here, and I can click this big plus, and these are the channels that we've already created earlier. So I can go red, green, blue, pan, tilt, dimmer, shutter, Gobo wheel, and Gobo rotation. And click Add Selection. Okay, so it's actually a bit easier to see, isn't it, when I'm zoomed in here? I'll try and stay zoomed in like this. We'll see how it copes. So it's as simple as that to build your own fixture. You see, it didn't take me very long. It's just a case of following that user manual. Of course, the problems come when you have a much more complex fixture with multiple beams and things like this. What you should do also before you finish is click this button here. If it's green, it means it's good. If it's red, it means there are some problems. And if it's yellow, it means there are some warnings. So if I click here, we have no errors and no warnings, which is exactly what we like to see. So once I'm done with that, I can click the back button. Oh, no, that's the undo button. Be careful, there's 2 back buttons. There's this one here and this one here. And I'm going to tell the developers to change that icon because it looks too much like a back icon. So when we're finished, we click this icon here in the top left to go back. Okay, now let's bring LiteRider in. So I'm logged into LiteRider with the same profile builder, the same LightCloud account. So if I go to the top here, and if I go to fixtures, so you've already seen in the other tutorials, we normally choose a brand from here and then we choose a device. This time I'm going to go down to the bottom left here, and you see we've got two buttons. This button means it's the public library, and this button here means it's your private user library. So if I click here, let's open brand. I think it was generic, the brand that I used before. And there you see we have Simon's Superlight. So let's select that. I'm going to click add fixture. And you see here, these are all the channels we selected earlier: red, green, blue, pan, tilt, dimmer, shutter. And you see LiteRider has automatically picked up on it. It's opened the dimmer, it's playing a color effect on the color channels. If we go over to the live screen, we should see some gobos as well. There we go. These are the gobos that we set earlier. So that's how easy it is to create your profile from scratch. So that's a basic overview of the profile builder. I'm not going to go into more detail about that now, but if you've got any questions, drop them over in the feed, and at the end of this video, like we've done with the other tutorials, I'll go through some questions with Piers, and if you have any specific questions on creating profiles, we can go through those with you. So what I'm going to show you now is the new LightCloud portal. So if you click your name at the top right here, it says go to user profile. So I'm going to click that. And it goes to lightcloud.nickelodeygroup.com. And you'll see a slightly different screen than what I see here because I'm an admin user. But if we go over to profiles on the left here, let's wait for that to load. Okay, so now here we have a list of all the profiles that I've created. So if I go over to page 3, I should see the new profile. Here we go, Simon's Superlight. Sorry, I've just realized I'm actually still showing you the tablet screen. So let's go back and do that again. Okay, so we left it off here. And up in the top right here, I clicked go to user profile, Simon Bennett. And then this took me over to this screen here. And this is the LightCloud screen. And as you see here, I've got all my profiles listed, including my Simon's Superlight profile at the bottom. So I'm going to click on this profile. And over on the right here, it shows all the information about that profile. I'll zoom in again so it's a little bit clearer on the stream. Okay. So basically, this is all the information about the profile. So a few things we can do here. We can edit the profile in Profile Builder up here. We can download the profile onto our computer. Or we can share a profile. So if you've got a friend who's also using LiteRider, you can enter their email address here. So I could do piers.lowbridge@nickelodeygroup.com. And I can press save. And Piers will now receive an email saying Simon wants to share Simon's Superlight with you. Do you accept? And if Piers presses accept, it will then appear in his LiteRider as well as mine. You've also got some other things here about the ownership of the profile and activity. You don't need to worry too much about that, but the activity shows you kind of the last edits that have been made to the profile. So it's really quite a powerful tool. Another thing that we can do, if I just go back to the profile builder screen, I'm pretty sure it was on this screen. Yes. So if you have an SSL2 profile, so that is the actual file that's used. So I know we have a lot of LiteRider users who also use our other software like Dazzlight and Sunlight. So if you already have an SSL2 file that's been used with Dazzlight or Sunlight, you can click this button here, upload a profile, and this will allow you to select a profile and upload it to your LightCloud account from your computer. As soon as you've done that, it will appear right here inside the LiteRider app in your user lists over here. So that's a crash course on creating profiles. What we're going to do now is open it out to some questions. So I'm going to bring in Piers. Hey Piers, how's it going?
Hello, yes, very good, thank you. Hope everyone else is doing okay. So yeah, just having a look through the questions now. First one from Navesh Prasad is when you make a fixture, does it auto save?
Yes, it does. Great question. There's no save button, so you don't have to worry about that. Basically, every time you do an action, it's saved automatically. I'll just give you a demo of how that looks. So if I go back into there, and I totally understand that question because it takes forever to make a profile. And I've had a problem before where I've spent an hour or half an hour making a profile and the app or the software's crashed on me. And yeah, there've been some strong words thrown around, put it that way. So if I go over here, yeah, as I almost clicked accidentally before, there is an undo button. So if you do create something by mistake, you can always undo it here. There is a full screen button as well, by the way, which is this button here. So I'm just seeing if I can show you an example here. Let's add a new channel. So let's add an iris channel. Add. Okay. So as soon as you add that iris channel, I'm pretty sure that profile's saved. And then if we add an iris preset, when I click save, again the profile's saved. So I think every time you do an action, that profile is saved, and then if you want to undo, you can undo there. Thanks for that question. All right.
Okay, got another question from Navash, just following up from that. If you share a fixture to another user, can that person make changes to it?
Okay, so I will show you. You can actually choose whether you want them to make changes or not. So if I go back to the LightCloud area, so basically when you press share over here, you see I have Piers Lowbridge, and let me see if I can zoom in a bit more on here just in case it's not coming up on the stream very clearly. So here it actually says read. So that means that Piers can only read my profile. He can't make changes to it. But if I click this button here, we can choose if we allow Piers to edit and if we allow Piers to be able to remove information. So delete channels and presets and things like that. Over to you, Piers.
Okay, I'll just scroll past it. Got one here from Stefan Coe. He's just asking, can you explain all the toggle switches that appear on the right when you are editing, for example, a Gobo wheel, such as linear effects?
Okay, I'll explain a few of them. Maybe not all of them because we will probably be here
Yeah.
all day and everyone else will tune out. Let's... okay, let me make this full screen again. Bear with me a second. Okay. So if I zoom back out from here, let's go back to Profile Builder and back to Simon's Superlight. Okay, so if we go to the Gobo wheel, and if we click on a Gobo over here, we have tons of options here. To be honest, LiteRider doesn't use most of them, so you don't have to worry about a lot of them, but I'll just go through them. So the first one is default. That means it's the default Gobo. So as soon as you add a fixture in LiteRider, if you don't touch anything on the live screen, LiteRider will normally call all the default presets. So if you don't want your lights to be open by default, if you want it to do this colored Gobo instead, you can set is default. And you see this little grey dot appears here to indicate that that's now the default preset. So that's is default. Is linear, that's if something's changing. So for example, imagine this preset here, G3 beam. Imagine this is a rotating Gobo. So I would do rotary. And right now, this is a fixed speed. So assume here you don't have a Gobo rotation channel. So assume here you've just got the Gobo wheel channel, which is also changing the rotation speed. If you press is linear, the speed of that Gobo will rotate from slow to fast as you move between value 104 and 156. If you switch that off, it means the Gobo will rotate at a constant speed between these two values. Now, this is more of a setting that's used in our software, and LiteRider doesn't use the is linear, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And then we've got shake. So that's for shaking gobos. Again, LiteRider doesn't currently handle that, but in future there might be some kind of shaking thing. Self-rotary. So that's going back to what I said before. If you don't have a separate channel to control that rotating, if it's all embedded inside of one channel, you need to tick that self-rotary button. Gobo index, that's when the position of the gobo moves between value 104 and 156. So if you want to set the gobo at a very specific angle, you use index. Again, it's not used in LiteRider. Then we've got bounce. That's a bouncing effect. It's not used in LiteRider. And then you can set a color for gobo as well. I think that's used inside the 3D visualizer and inside the Dazzlite 2D preview view. But that's not used in LiteRider either. Effect depends on DMX value. That's a similar option to self-rotary. At this point, it starts to get a bit complicated, so I won't go into any more depth. But the two options you would want to use for LiteRider is default. That's a very important option because it tells LiteRider which value to recall by default, and rotary, which you'll tick if it's a rotating gobo. Back over to you, Piers.
Okie dokie. Right, where are we? Okay, so got a question from Dane, who's asking, is it possible to use the beam part of Profile Builder to create sections for fixtures that are part of a multi-bar? Now, I know we've covered this, but it might be good just to show.
Yeah, sure. I can give you a short demo of this. So Dane was asking about multi-bars, like multi-beam fixtures. You may remember from previous tutorials, I had a well, if we let's start simple. I had some LED bars which had RGB for one beam, and then RGB for another beam, RGB for another beam, and RGB for another beam. So there were 4 beams with RGB. So if I go back and create a new profile, so go generic, let's call this multi-RGB, and I'll create this profile. So we can go over to properties in the top right here, and we have the beam editing over in this corner. So what we do first is we make a grid. So in this case, I'm just going to do a simple bar. So I'm going to do this. So I've got 4 spaces, and I'm going to fill those with beams, and I want it to go left to right. So I'm going to go beam 1, beam 2, beam 3, and beam 4. So now I've got my 4 beam bar. I'm going to go over to content over here, save changes. Okay, so now I'm going to press the plus, and I'm going to go red, green, blue. And in fact, if it's the Stairville bar, it also has a dimmer that controls all of the beams. Add selection. And here it says beam assignments. Do I want to assign it to all beams or specific beams? I'll just put assign all for now and press save. And now I'm going to go over to the mode. There's a handy shortcut here, by the way, where you can add all the channels to the mode if you want to do everything in one go. But for now, I'm just going to go red, green, blue. And I'm going to press add selection. And now I'm going to do my beam assignments. So I'm going to select numbers here. And I'm going to select beam 1. And I'm going to press save. And you see these channels on the left are assigned to beam 1. Now I'm going to add 3 more channels. Red, green, blue. You see I can choose the same channels as before. And I'm going to assign these to beam number 2. So you see these are on beam number 2. I'll do it again. Red, green, blue. Beam number 3. And again, red, green, blue. Beam number 4. And then finally, I have a dimmer channel that controls the brightness of the whole fixture. So I'm going to select dimmer, add selection, and I'll assign that to all of my beams. Okay, one more thing I need to do. You see I've got this warning triangle here. It's because I've not added a preset to this dimmer channel yet. So I'm going to select the dimmer channel, and I'm going to add a dimmer preset here and press save. Just another little note, by the way, this little switch at the top, global and local. So if this is pointing to local, it means any changes you make will only be inside mode 1. If it's set to global, confirm. This means the changes will happen in all of the modes. Now, because I originally made a change in local mode, it's actually cleared that change. So just to show you, if I go to my global channels here, if I go to dimmer, let's add a dimmer preset here and press save. Let's go back to mode 1. And I go into the dimmer here. You see the change appears automatically. It's really useful. For example, imagine you've got another mode, let's say mode 2, and imagine mode 2 is just 4 channels like this, and you press add selection. We'll assign to all beams in this mode. Okay, so imagine we realize we've made a mistake with this dimmer. Imagine there's like a dimmer pulse preset or something at the end of the channel. We can go over to channels here. We can select the dimmer channel. We can add a new preset, which we do with this button over here. So let's add dimmer pulse open, and I'll press save. Okay, so now we've got dimmer and dimmer pulse open. Now if we go to mode 1, it's been added here. And if we go to mode 2, it's also been added here. And this is really useful when editing profiles. You know, sometimes you might have a profile that has 4 or 5 different modes, and you find a very small mistake has been made in one channel, and you've got to go through every single mode and make the edit multiple times. With this kind of global channel area, it means you only have to make the edit once, which is quite helpful. Back over to you, Piers. Sorry, that was quite a long answer to that question.
No worries. Hopefully this one should be a bit quicker. We've got a question from Martin Long, who we all know, and he's just asking that if he shares a profile with another user and they make an edit, will that also edit his profile?
Yes, it will. It will also edit your profile. So a little tip, if you're not keen on that, there's a couple of options. So when you share profile over here, in fact, I might not be able to demonstrate this with you. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm not sure if you will have this on your user account or if it's only on my admin account, but it all depends on who the owner is. So if you don't want them to, in fact, if you don't want them to make changes, sorry, Piers, could you just tell me that question again? Because I might have misheard the end of it.
Yes, certainly. So Martin's asking that if he shares a profile with a customer, his friend, and they wish to make an edit, would that also edit his profile? So I think Martin's basically wanting to allow a customer or a user to edit a profile that he shared with them, but not sort of impact his profile.
I see. Okay, so to do that, you're best duplicating a profile and sharing it. So to duplicate a profile, that's a good question. It can be done. You go into the profile editor, I believe, and then you click up here and you click the duplicate button. You can also share directly from the Profile Builder app as well if you want to. So I would recommend creating a duplicate of the profile and then sending a duplicate to your friend. And then what they can actually do is change the ownership. So they can choose to own that profile, and then you'll receive an email saying your friend has requested ownership of this file. Do you want to grant it? And you can press OK. Now the button to request ownership, I think somebody has to share a profile with me before I see this button. I think it's in this button here in the top right. So you see there's an interesting button, by the way, suggest as official. If you've created a profile that works very well, if you click this, our technical support team will receive an email saying a profile has been suggested as official. We'll check that profile and then we'll add it to our public library. So if you want to share a profile with a few people, it's always good to select that option. Now, I think if someone's shared a profile with me, I would have a second option just below to say request ownership or something like this. Pretty sure. Another thing, this is what I was suggesting before, is to actually edit the owner of the profile. So what you can do here is type in another username. So you could type in your friend's username, your friend's email here, and then they will be the owner of that profile. Like I say, I'm not 100% sure if that's available for everyone else or if it's just for me and Piers. If it's just me and Piers, drop us an email and we can do it for you. Okay.
Okay, cool. Next question from Navesh is asking, can he upload his existing profiles to Profile Builder?
Yes, you certainly can. Just to recap that, I went through it quickly before. So to upload an existing profile, you go back to the Profile Builder. And on the first screen, you have a button here, Upload a Profile. And that allows you to upload an SSL2 file from your computer. If you've created profiles previously with the Profile Builder app, they should be already on your LightCloud account. We migrated everything from the old system to the new system, so everything should be there for you. Okay.
Excellent. Next question from Steve Medonka. He's asking, can you edit existing global profiles such as the infamous Chauvet Gigbar 2?
Okay, that's a good question, and I know that we're going to allow to do it, but I'm not sure it's actually available yet. Let me just think, because up here you see profiles. We've got all, mine, official, and trash. Let me just click official. Let's see if this is done yet. No, it's not done yet. Okay, so right now, what you need to do is go to the LiteRider website. You go to the web store where we were before by clicking this Buy Now button. I think you can get to it by clicking this button as well. Yeah, there you go. You click SSL Fixture Profiles. You search for the profile here. So let's say a KLS laser bar. Look at that, it came up for us. And if you click one of these buttons here, for example, download SSL2, that will download the SSL2 file to your computer. Then you can go back to the Profile Builder and you can use this button here to upload it to your Profile Builder account. In a few weeks' time, we're going to have a new feature where you won't have to go through all that process. You'll just be able to go straight to here, click official. You'll see all the official profiles here, and you'll be able to click an edit button over here. Now, obviously, that's not going to edit it for everybody. It's going to copy it over to your account so you can edit it yourself. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Next question from Stephen. I'm going to completely get the surname wrong. Montenbolt, I believe. He's asking, can you change Gobo images in Profile Builder? I know we sort of showed it briefly.
Hi, Stephen. So you can change the Gobo images, but you can't add your own Gobo image. We might do it in future. Let me just double check that information is correct, just in case. Sometimes they add new features, the developers, without telling us. It wouldn't be the first time. Let's have a look. I think you have to choose from a pre-selected list of Gobos. Yeah. I'm afraid the answer to that is not possible. It might be on our to-do list for the future. I'm certainly going to add it to our user requests. Yeah, I'll see what we can do. But the answer for now is you can change it for a different Gobo. In fact, let me show you how to do that. So imagine we have a Gobo wheel channel here. Oh, sorry, I've still got pairs on. Sorry, pairs. Okay, so going back to the profile builder. So if I click the Gobo wheel channel here, and if I click the Gobo preset here, I can go like this, and I can select replace, and then I can select a different Gobo. Let's say this one here. So I can exchange the Gobo for another Gobo within our library, but it's not possible for you to upload your own Gobos. Okay, back to you, Piers.
Okay, got a question here from Kevin Clark, who you know as well, who's asking, can you create one profile for the same brand, such as Chauvet, and control two lights? Now, I'm not entirely sure which aspect he means, whether he just means having one profile control two lights to do exactly the same thing, or whether he means merge two lights to be part of one profile, so like a multi-head. I think it's probably the latter.
Okay. You can. I'm not sure if your question refers to more merging profiles or splitting profiles. There's no split or merge option at the moment in Profile Builder. If you want to split a profile, I would recommend duplicating the profile and then deleting the channels that you don't want to use. If you want to merge a profile, so merge two different profiles into one, that's not possible. I can't think of a reason why you might want to do that, so maybe I've misunderstood your question a little bit. We'll leave that on the feed, Piers, and if we have a reply, I'll try and elaborate on that answer.
Yeah, I'm monitoring it. If anything comes back and we've sort of finished, I'll answer it in the questions at least.
Okay.
Okay, just having a little look through, seeing what else we've got coming up. I think that is the majority of the questions answered at the moment.
Okay, just while we wait for the stream to catch up, because it is about a minute delayed, I'll just show you one other little feature. If we go back onto here. So if we go back to the LightCloud admin, or the LightCloud portal, you may have seen some different options on the left here. Again, yours will look a little bit different to mine because because I'm doing the tech support, I'm on the admin account. But if I go to files, you can actually upload some files yourself. Now, I know many of you are probably thinking, can we synchronize LiteRider projects? Right now, it's not possible, but it is on our to-do list. So I'm not sure when it's going to happen. Because of this virus lockdown and everything and all the other bits and pieces that we're doing at the moment, it might not be till next year. But eventually, our goal is to automatically synchronize your LiteRider projects, and they'll appear on this list here, and then you'll be able to synchronize them between tablets. We will keep you posted on the progress of that. Okay. Piers, is there anything else, or are we gonna?
Yep,
Yeah.
we've got a couple more that have just come through.
Okay.
One from Avatar, who's asking, can you use Profile Builder to create profiles for non-lighting effects?
Hey, Avatar. Yeah, of course. As long as it's DMX, it will work. So, for example, sometimes I have like a DMX controlled. In fact, I've something I've made before is a DMX controlled MP3 player. So that's where DMX channel 1 was controlling the volume, DMX channel 2 was controlling, I think, like the track. You could put a little SD card in with some different tracks. And then, like, DMX channel 3 was controlling play, pause, and everything else. So, what I did with this one is created a new profile. I put it in generic. I called it something along the lines of DMX MP3 player. And then I created a channel. I think I just used other channels. I think you can add this several times, by the way. If I do that, 1, 2, 3, add selection. Yeah, there we go. And then this first one, I called volume, and I added a volume level, and I just chose an appropriate icon. Doesn't matter which icon. This one, for example. How do you set the name on these? I think it's over here. Yes, volume, like so. And then important to set the DMX default to 0. You see here it says 127. That means LiteRider will automatically put 127. In fact, for this one I want it at 255. So I'm going to put 255 there. And then over here we had, what did I say? Track selection. And then let's see. I'm just scrolling through these icons, finding something that might be useful. Let's use these. So track 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's say there's 5 tracks. So there I have my track selection. And then on channel 3, I had something like playback control. And I had play, pause, stop. Something like this. If I go back, now if we head over to the LiteRider app, fixtures, generic. No, why is that not there? DMX MP3 player. Let's see if it's there now. Nope. It should refresh, by the way, when you press this user button. It doesn't always do it. I'm not quite sure why. Let's just go back here. It might have disconnected from my home Wi-Fi network. Yep, I don't see that there. Okay, let me just kill that app. Hold on 1 second. Often if it doesn't refresh, just going out of the app and back into it forces a refresh. Okay. And here we have it. So generic DMX MP3 player. Here it is over here. And in fact, there are no channels appearing, probably because, I know what I forgot to do. This is a classic mistake. that you will all make at some point. If I go back into this, I have an empty mode over here, and you see this button is red, which means empty mode, and that's why it was empty in LiteRider. So if I go into here, let's add all the channels using that little shortcut there. I will go out of that mode. Now I'm not sure how long this is going to take to refresh. Oh, it's done it straight away. There we go. Sorry, I had a LiteRider in focus there. I'll just show you what the problem was. So I went DMX MP3 player, and I had forgotten to add these over to this mode. So that's something really important. Always remember to do that. And if you don't do that, this icon will be red, and your profile will be empty. So all I did was press this add all button to add all the channels here, and then I went back to LiteRider, and there we go. We got the volume, the track selection, and the playback control. Another long answer there. All right, Piers, did you say we got one or two more?
Yep, we've got two more good ones. Another question from Dane, who's asking, if you have deleted a profile, can you recover them?
I'm not sure. Let's have a look. I think I was told about this. I'll tell you what, let's delete this DMX MP3 player I've just made. Remove. Now let's go back to my LightCloud account over here. Let's go to profiles. So my profile is no longer there. Now I see we've got this button up here called trash. Maybe it's going to be in here. Yes, here we go. DMX MP3 player. So I suppose I can click here. I'm literally just playing with this at the moment. Restore. Now let's go back to Profile Builder. Let's refresh this page. And there it is, back again. So the answer is yes. Okay, awesome. Piers, maybe just one more question.
One more, yep, okay. Hopefully it's not too difficult, but a couple of people, sorry, I've asked it. Products like the ADJ quad phase have one color channel. For example, on that channel, they'll have 0 to 10 as red, 11 to 20 is red and green, 21 to 30 is green, etc. How would you set that up in Profile Builder?
Okay, so I would set that up as a color wheel channel. That way, LiteRider will jump to the correct point in the channel according to the effects. So to do that, I'll go back to, let's create a new fixture. It's going to be cleaner this way. I'll call this one color wheel. Okay, so let's take a simple fixture which just has perhaps a dimmer and a color wheel. So just two channels. Add selection. I'm going to add my dimmer preset on here and press save. Then I'm going to go to the color wheel and I'm going to add some color presets. So we were saying, I can't remember exactly what the example was, but let's say it's white first and then red and then green and then blue and then yellow, something like this. Press save. There I have my presets. Don't forget to change the values here to match whatever you have in the user guide. Then let's not make the same mistake I made before. We need to go to mode 1 and press this add all channels button down here and go back. Okay, so if we go back to LiteRider now, let's see if I have more luck than before updating this. Okay, here we go, color wheel. So let's add that fixture. So we have two channels here, and if I go to the live screen, you see we're playing a rainbow effect, which is jumping between these colors. And what LiteRider will do is it will try to find the closest color as it plays that effect. And if we go back to the fixtures screen, you can see here that this channel here is jumping up and down with the effect. In fact, it was just before. Why isn't it now? Maybe I slowed the effect down. Oh yeah, there you go. It is jumping, just slowly because I have a slow effect playing. Something else you can do as well is if I click the color wheel here, we've got these segments. So clicking that will make the light go blue or green or red or yellow. Okay, that was a good question, that one. So thanks very much for joining us again. Piers, I think we'll leave it there for today. I hope you found that tutorial helpful. Any other questions, pop them in the feed, and Piers will probably answer a couple more just before we finish for today. Thanks very much for joining us again, and we will.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you all soon.
Cheers.